All right, people. Sorry, the audio might not be good. This video is not very well. We did it, but let's talk war. But before that, I have two things to say. First, I can literally answer anything on the order 1 hour long of late video. It's not that of a challenge to answer any question people might have about it. Okay, no, I don't regret anything I said there. And the second one, which is actually important to this video, which I hope it's not as long as 1 hour length, is that before talking war, we must understand the true motives for war, for the war machine. So, how does a war truly begin? And how does a war truly ends? Well, United States wanted money. They want development. And the only way they could do it was to beat the like how can they call the Soviets? Oh, the Soviets to the moon. So they would draw more scientists to their nation. They would get more money for investors. That's just basics. All right. Maybe sometimes a country will fight a war just to show they're powerful, but that's for the random media, the general media to spread. But there's actually something else there. And all those become conspiracy sometimes or just aren't take to notice afterwards. USA, just saying, I might be Brazilian, but I love USA and Japan. Okay, my favorite nature, my favorite cultures, right? And I really would like to be there one of these days, but still, they have their own reasons to fight wars that had nothing to do with a person being just too bad in those nations. Okay, there is needed a profit. So how does a war end then? Well, there's only two ways a war can end. The goal is achieved, or the losses overcome the expected gain, the profit from it. So perhaps our land is not that valuable if we lose too many soldiers. Or the money, the diamonds are not that valuable if we die too many people. Or maybe we got our hands on those like mines of diamonds, on those oil rigs. So why to keep fighting? It's ours already. We got our hands upon it. So why to fight? We won. And then our war wins. To many people, it ended in a stalemate, in a draw, but actually somebody won it in that regard. And on that thought, let's think about the first our generation war. Russia versus Ukraine. So people say, oh, Russia is supposed to do that. Here in Brazil, people say they were stupid from doing that because they couldn't win. The Ukrainians are a small country, but they could fight back. Yeah, they could. They can. That's not the point. Okay, what's the real goal about it? Nobody knows. But we can give a thought about that, can't we? First and foremost, what would happen if Ukraine joined OTAN? Well, then the Allies would have somebody right besides Russia. And if a future war was actually supposed to happen between USA and Russia, then it would be bad. There is an enemy right besides us who can take our attention and our troops while we could be attacked from the other side. And it's like a fast response. Our allies wouldn't be able to do anything to help us. Not in time, at least. Or that is what people think it could be. What some people actually are sure that it is. That this atrocity from Russia against Ukraine is about. I like to broaden my thought. Let's say, what if Russia was, I don't know, allegedly the biggest oil exporter from the world? They steal oil from most of the world. What would happen if they enter a war that first they couldn't win and second against a country that did nothing? Well, then OTAN would and ONU would prevent people from trading with them. So all that oil will mean for nothing because they wouldn't be able to sell it. Right? Right. Well, what if Russia actually gathers some allies or trading allies? It could sell like some of that oil for a cheaper price. Let's say 10% of the oil is being sold at a cheaper price. They would still have their money. Alright? But what would happen to the entire rest of the planet? All the other nations that need that oil that Russia is no longer supplying. Well, they would have to buy from somebody else. And as we know from marketing, that scarcity raises prices. So now oil costs more because Russia holds the most of it and nobody can buy from them. Then oil goes up. Some of Russia's allies, or maybe the people behind Russia, there's all the theorists, right? That think there's always somebody behind the country. I kind of don't want to think about that. I like to believe the countries have the intelligence services that think about the stuff before the war comes and during it. So, but Russia allies will start to profit more. People still will need oil Russia on war or not. And people said Russia had enough resources to keep fighting on a war for 10 years. Do you know what 10 years of scarcity do to the price of anything? Anything at all. Imagine the world without beer for 10 years. How much would cost a cup of beer 10 years in the future? Because we didn't have that in those 10 years. It would become like ultra rare. A single cup could cost like $1 million. Alright? That's how whiskey work. As old as it is, as scarce it becomes, as expensive as it also is. Maybe it tastes bad. Maybe it tastes like I'm not going to allow. I don't know. I can say whatever. This is not a monetization, but it might taste like poop. And people will still pay that price just to say they drank that thing. Because it's rare. One of our Brazilian idols, Ronaldo, just came back from a place last year and he ate a steak with gold. And that was worth like 2 houses and a half. Alright? And still he did it because he could. There are people like that in the planet, right? But even if you do not count these people, oil prices will rise regardless. And that's not the only thing that will rise, because as the war progresses, more and more restrictions will be applied to Russia. Now the natural gas won't be supplied anymore because some countries are obliged to give Ukraine support, so Russia, as retaliation, will cut the natural gas. But wait, this gas aren't going anywhere, right? Russia won't throw it away, so it will be stored. And what will happen again? Scarcity, boom. The natural gas prices go up. So people say the rupians from the Russians are now worth less than nothing. Well, let's talk again in 10 years when somehow Putin resigns or have a change of heart. Let's give it like 5 to 10 years like time span and see what happens. Because I believe that Russia will come around for some weird reason. Maybe it wins the war, maybe it loses, maybe it draws, maybe it ends in the stalemate, a draw, and then they will have 1 year or two or so they can keep those restrictions to punish Russia, but those will have to end. Nobody wants Russia to hit that warhead bottom, so we cannot hold them on their places for too long. Then Russia is able to trade again, and it has a lot of oil to sell and natural gas, and those two commodities now worth 10 times more. Did Russia really lost the war? Of course, it's an atrocity. It's like beating the weak for no reason and losing the fight. But when in the reality, somebody paid you to lose to that weaker person. So in the end, if you win, you gain money, you gain like glory and respect. But if you lose, you win money. And what is better than glory and respect in this planet full of human beings than money? The engine of the world, the fuel of this world. So yeah, I don't think Russia will lose this war at all. Because even if they lose in the battlefield, economically, they already won and nobody's seeing it. So yeah, Russia may give up the war right now and it would make no difference. In a 5 to 10 years time span, they will become way richer than that they are right now and nobody will be able to do nothing because people are still bound to those fields type. Maybe Elon Musk develops a great electric car or truck that is actually cheaper, right? But although I really love Elon Musk's work, life's work, really I idolize him. But have you seen the price of a Tesla? Like, do every Joe can buy a Tesla? I can't. A Brazilian rich person wouldn't. That's how expensive a Tesla is. So unless he can tune down those prices, there's nothing that can be done to Russia. Not only Tesla, like all his competitors, unless they can make a working cheap electric car, Russia just won that war before they even started. And what we're seeing are just the fireworks, a show of power, of I could if I wanted to type of situation. Yes, we could explode 14 warheads on Ukraine and win that war massively. We could nuke every single other country. Like, they threatened other countries to use the warheads if they got involved. And it wouldn't stop them from using. They have a dead man fail safe. If like the parliament gets destroyed and a single order is not sent, they will bombard all their enemies. It's already set in stone. Everybody knows that. USA knows it. OTAN knows it. So yeah, they they might lose the show, but Russia already won that war right before it started. So let's not talk about that war any longer. All right, we do not like it, but we have a winner. Either way, they won that. If they are punished for their crimes, if Putin is put down, Russia on itself won that war. And nobody can do anything about it unless we can have a new form of moving cars besides oil. And that reality is now, but it's not, if you get what I mean. So, what about Israel? What motivated that war? Oh, it's religion. They want to prove who religion is more powerful. But wait, isn't that country too small? Haven't we seen example of a society, a multicultural, how is it called again? Multicultural society that have many religions on the same place, the same country, like USA, Brazil, Japan, or every single other one that is a big country on the first world and second world type of economy. So there's no reason for them to fight over religion. So why would someone boost this kind of war? Well, maybe the region on its own offers something else. Well, first, land on its own it's expensive. It's not cheap. Either way, if somebody wins, they will expand the frontiers. Okay, they will gain more land. And that's just under the territory aspect. We don't even know what there is on those lands, but we know those places usually have oil or like rare stones. So, is that war really about religion? Would the war cause so many atrocity just because the religion is too violent? I don't think so. Islam is a violent religion, it is. But one of Islam's greatest leaders of all time, or some say, I don't even know the dude's name, said that Islam would spread around the world not through violence but through words. And that's why there are Islam cells on every single country. They, even though their religion is violent, they manage to convince people it's good somehow, for some purpose, some reason, but they do. So it's spreading and quickly. So that war is meaningless for that aspect. They're proving nothing to nobody. They didn't need it to convince people to join Islam, to convert themselves. So why now? And what about the Jews? They have every single opportunity throughout the entire history to start a war. They are inside everything that it's important from ages. Yet still, they allowed Hitler to kill a lot of them. Sorry, sensitive topic, but they allowed it. Okay, they lost that war, that fight. They didn't see it coming. Yet still, it was the only time they lost because they didn't see it coming. They didn't see the betrayal coming to them. But what about now? They're strong. They hold a powerful position. Why would they prove anything? Everybody that is a Jew firmly believes it. You are not a Jew if you don't believe the Jews, if you do not believe the Torah. So makes no sense for them, a religion or either. Does it? Oh, but Moses said that half of the people had to be killed, so the commitments, the tenets would be given to people or something. That doesn't make shitty sense at all. It just do not apply. We are 2024 years like afterwards that, like not even after, way more, because we're counting from Jesus' death to now, and that goes to 2024, but it actually happened like 600 or 700 years before Christ itself. So it's way, way more years, time passing. So that all just doesn't make sense either, does it? I don't really understand about that region that much, but maybe the I don't know, the Lamentation War. I just forgot those names. I tried to translate it, but the wall of lamentation or something might be a reason. Maybe one of these sides wants it because of how it impacts on their religion, but makes no sense. Nobody can profit it from this. Perhaps there are diamonds, perhaps there are oil, perhaps just to have a land of itself. It would make sense. Hmm. Throughout history, people kill each other just for an extra space. Alexander the Great, Athenians, maybe Spartans, although not quite. The Portuguese. So yeah, fight for religion just doesn't make sense. Even the Knights Templar didn't win like on the Middle East just because of religion. They pillaged people and all the stuff they stole from them. They came back with many riches. So not even the most religious faithful warriors went on a war just for religion, but also for riches. Why would they now? When riches are like not locked on a single territory? If you had enough resources, you can literally buy a diamond from the moon, and NASA would find a way to deliver it to your house through Amazon or FedEx, and it would still arrive. And even though you would have no way of checking its authenticity, you would accept it gladly and laughing. So it doesn't make sense. So yes, land, money, resources. So how do to end this war? Is it talking about it on media, on Hollywood, on the Oscar? Is it manifesting? Is it choosing a side? No. To end this war, we first need to understand what each side wants. What is the resource that is driving that war? Because that war won't last forever. Like I said, also, if people die too much, a war will win because the losses overcomes the profit. So the war will win eventually. We could just sit upon our asses and wait, or we could try and understand what is driving that war, finding that answer, and then maybe a politician or a country could put a stop to it some way, maybe saying that it belongs to one part or taken from both of them regardless. I know like a few countries that would take resources for them to stop wars. Like there's a lot of them, two of them right close to Israel. Looking at you, buddies. Yeah, look at you, China. Sorry, buddy, you're close. And you would fight. You want Taiwan, don't you? Hmm? About Taiwan, yeah, China wants to invade Taiwan because it is both an important historical place for them. All right, it was founded during the unification of China. It was a place that wasn't unified or something, and not only that, it's a strategical position for war because you could place some destroyer on those waters right besides it, and to fortify defense on China. You would prevent an enemy from acquiring that advantageous position against them. So it is also could be a reason. Its resources. So yeah, China has plenty of reason to invade Taiwan. It just needs an excuse. And it comes the last topic. What causes the wars to happen on an average scale? Like on the general reason that people talk about. Well, yes, Russia invaded Ukraine because Ukraine will go to join OTAN, right? Right? We talked about that. And yes, Israel have a grudge, religious grudge against Hamas, so they would fight Jews versus Islams and stuff. And China just want to expand, buddy. They always hate Taiwan and they want to become one with them so they can be in love. No, come on. Those are just triggers. Something that those behind those wars won't take the blame for starting it. Like, it's easier to throw a rock at your neighbor, okay, and say it was because he said something to you or to somebody in your family than to just throw it because you don't like the dude, or because you want to take his wallet, or just because. Why? A reason. Maybe people will judge you less if that said guy said something bad about your wife. That's why Will Smith could slap Chris Rock and he still have some support from some people saying that he was right because of a reason. Even though everybody saw he laughing at that joke until he looked into his wife and she didn't like it. And then she said something to him, he stood up and slapped Chris Rock. A reason. Oh, he said bad stuff about my wife. That's a reason. But what was the motive? The true motive from that slap? He wanted to please his wife. He wanted to show his wife he would do anything she wanted for her. So, in order to appease good to his wife, he slapped another dude. And he used the dude's joke as a reason, as an excuse to do it. Still, he did it. He shouldn't be protected or supported for that. He acted violently. Still, people will always do. Because there will always be those that really, really think he did that to protect the honor of his beloved wife. But no, dude, he was writing the same joke. He was laughing like he couldn't handle it. This year's Oscar, there was a humorist who was even worse to people. He remembered Robert Downey Jr., one of my greatest idols, from this bad, real bad past. And RDJ just laughed at him and like did this. Like, yeah, I remember I did stuff like that. Yeah, ha 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 ha. He took as a funny joke because that was all that was, a funny joke. RDJ could stand up and punch that dude. Yes, he could. He had a reason. But he, as a man, didn't thought it was the motive was strong enough. So when the trigger, the reason came, there was no profit to be gained. There was nothing to be proved or something like that. So the fatigued showdown didn't happen between them. And not only him, many people were roasted on that. And all of them stayed quiet and put. Yeah, maybe they're afraid of the academy, but maybe they're just smarter, more wise people. So, yes, the Oscar is not the world. Nations will fight, wanting resources or to make their resources worth more. And people will think that is something entirely different because they will find an extra reason. Okay, they will find an extra reason. Like, maybe, yeah, maybe Israel is right because Hamas attacked first. But what if Hamas also had a reason to attack? People will still take it. If they say now and say, oh, Israel did that and that and that, some people would support them. And they're both wrong. They aren't supposed to be trying to take things from each other. But they still will because that's how the world is. That's a world of humans. We always try to get more than we can hold, even if that means taking from somebody else's. Who'd never thought about it? Some of us are just good enough not to do it, but there are lots of people that would. How they overcome us, dude? Makes no sense. No sense at all. So yes, that's how war works. And that's what the outcomes are. No, we're not engaging in a world warfare because of two small battles, okay, that are happening. USA will not join any of those fights because there's no profit from gain from it, and no other country will. Only those countries engaged in the conflicts have something to gain from it. Only them. And trust me, once Ukraine wins, and they will win, both sides will end up in a draw. Russian resources will worth like 10 times more, and Ukraine will receive respect for holding up Russia's army. So they both end up winning. Ukraine becomes a strong country, and the Russia gets more profit from it. I just don't know if Israel and Hamas will have some form of draw like that. I don't even believe there will be a winner. Maybe they will give up the war temporarily because too many people will die. USA do nothing, Japan will do nothing, China have its own grudges to think about. So yes, they're on their own. So no, the war won't stop. Not now at least. And when it stops, we will be even more terrified of it than we are already now. All the tragedies, all the torture will be worse. And all because nobody else got anything from winning to stop that war. There's no resources involved. Now, what if there were some form of expensive oil that you could get from those lands? Maybe five nations would be fighting right now in that war, trying to get it. Perhaps diamonds. But as the war progresses, we see that this isn't the case. Nobody will stop it. So, yeah. So that's it, guys. That's war. The topics to talk was why a war starts. So, resuming, a country needs something from the other country, resources something, so it looks for a reason to attack, which we call trigger, a reason. And with that, they attack, be it the death of one or more people, or be some act on its own that will drive it. So the war starts. And three, okay, that war will be justified for by somebody else. Okay, they want to fight for one reason, for a motive. Okay, they will find a reason to attack, and a third part will validate that fake reason. That's how a war starts. Pin on that. And how does a war end? Two simple stuff. Either one of these sides get what they wanted, or the losses overcome the profit. And the losses, I mean people. And money, of course. Of course. If you lose too much in a war, that doesn't matter how much you win, you will still be losing, then that war makes no sense. It will just stop. So that's why nobody joined. So that's how a war ends. All right. And the third topic, what can we do to try and help actually effectively to stop those wars? Look for the true reason. Try to present to one or more people the true reason and hope that this one or more people are like 1 or 1,000 people that actually can make enough noise to prevent it. So yes, Ukraine and Russia are on a stalemate, but in the end, Ukraine will be seen as a strong country and Russia will be rich. China will be better defended if they win. If they lose, well, they have enough resources to expand, if you know what I mean. Looking at you again, China. You should really check your laws. And on Israel and Hamas, there is nothing, Pakistan, right? There is nothing we can do about it. Even if you know the reason, okay, there wouldn't be much we can do about it. A large scale war would literally wipe that country from the map. So even trying to help stop or prevent could end up in the annihilation of a country. So it's on those cases you just watch and hope for the best, really. And on the best case scenario, they don't have warheads. And if they overdo, any of the sides overdo, USA always have a destroyer with 47 or more missiles to drop on their bases, like they did before, right, Trap? Looking at you, that was your order, right? So yes, that's my thoughts on war. That's how I believe war made. And I pretty much believe historians will agree with me. Okay? After all, it's from history. I learned from those stuff. And those who don't learn from history tend to repeat it. It's because people didn't learn of those three steps from starting a war that people can do that right now with little to no punishment or excuse. And it's hard to stop a war because people fail to understand those things as well. Okay, perhaps both sides have something in common. They could trade and they still reach like a goal or something. But fighting just seemed better than a negotiation, so it's probably something important. You know, even though religions drive people mad, we're not talking about the foothold soldier. We're talking about those who give the orders. Like, hey, take an army and attack that country. The person who says that is that knows where he has to gain or his country has to gain from that war. The soldiers are just obeying orders. They're not at fault. Believers or not. I believe many countries, if a soldier disobey direct order, he will die. So yeah, I don't judge the soldiers, judge the command chain. So yeah, that's it, guys. Finally, I talked too much, but I tried to make sense of everything. So next time you think about throwing a rock into a neighbor, I hope you're at least married to say that he mistreated your wife 10 years ago or something. Alright? That just okay, guys, just kidding. Don't go fighting, don't let's be better. Okay, the goal for those two last videos is for everyone that have the courage to watch them to the end, to be better people, to understand better, to see the grander scale of stuff. Okay, we're human beings, you're human beings. Okay, and now right now I record a quick and third video, all right, also without addiction, and I believe it will take 10 minutes to end it. Let's hope so. Well, see ya.